Good day, everyone. My name is Rachel Amahan, and I am your reporter for today. So, welcome to CE 545, which is Civil Engineering Laws, Contracts, Specification, and Ethics. So, from our previous reporters, we have learned about the codes of ethics and obligation of a professional civil engineers. But before we going to start our lesson, let us define what is civil engineer or what does a civil engineer do. So, anong ginatawag siya civil engineer? Or, anong na may civil engineer? So, civil engineer is a part of science which deals with comfort accessories required by the civilians with respect to their needs, shelter, transportation, workplace, and other. So, kaya pala ginatawag siya civil engineers kay ginapunan niya ang mga needs sa civilians, which is us. Pwede, civilian man jud ta. So, what are the needs of the civilians? So, shelter, kailangan ng workplace, kailangan transportation, and so much more. So, as we all know that civil engineer is dili lalim na trabaho and at the same time a noble job. So, we change the world by making the people lives easier. So, civil engineer makes the people life easier. At the same time, they boost the economy by transportation and construction and etc. So, after na to, mahuman og eskwela civil engineer, puhon-puhon, makagraduate na, mahuman na ang pandemic. So, mag-take na tag board exam at the same time, magtrabaho na ta sa civil engineer. So, paano man nato ma-maintain atong sarili from being successful? So, we must have this work ethics. So, we must have work ethics for us to be successful someday. Further ado, let us go on to our topic for today, which is distinguish and value the formation towards the practice of civil engineer. The main objective of this lesson is to distinguish and value the formation towards the practice of civil engineering. We have here the moral framework. So, what are the moral framework or what is moral framework? So, moral framework is an ethical theory seeks to provide a comprehensive perspective on morality that clarifies, organizes, and guides moral reflection. As one of their applications, ethical theories ground the requirements in engineering codes of ethics by reference to broader moral principles. For us to understand more about this moral framework, we have 5 ethical theories. So, number 1 is right ethics. All ethical theories leave some room for rights, but the ethical theory called right ethics is distinctive in that makes human rights the ultimate appeal, the moral bottom line. It provides a powerful foundation for the special ethical requirements in engineering and other professions. So, every one of us in this world or in this planet have rights, even mga bata, mga babae, mga tigulang, mga iro, iring, even mga tanom na rights, even LGBT na rights. So, everyone has a right. So, kailangan na to ang right ethics. So, let us give an example about this right ethics. So, example, sa construction, mo set jud mo og duration of time, naman jud tay duration of time para mahuman ang construction, di ba? So, we have here dapat karong September 1 na siya mahuman, tapos napalang ta sa 75% of our project. So, kay tungod sa mga dilubyo, pandemic, mga nahitabo, mga linog, kaya siya is naundang ang construction. So, ikaw as a civil engineer or ikaw ang project engineer na site, so gusto nimo maging perfect jud, mahuman jud nimo ang time duration na gihatag September 1 mahuman na gyud siya, which is pwede gyud siya mahitabo kung wala lang mahitabo na mga pandemic, mga sa padadiha na mga natural disaster. So, ang gibuhat nimo is ang mga trabahante nimo gipatrabaho nimo sila og 24/7. So, kisa may magtrabaho 24/7. So, maski mga trabahante, mga construction worker, na sila'y right na magpahulay, right na matulog sa tamang oras. Because ang punan lang na nila is ang lawas lang. So, buhatan po na to. Nadyo tay limit para sa atong kaugalingon na ops tama na diya lang kutob kay na di sila katungod na matulog na tao pud sila. So, mo na siya ang example sa right ethics. So, next ethical theories is duty ethics. It is also called deontological ethics. Rights and duties are typically correlated with each other. Duty ethics reverses the order of priority by beginning with duties and deriving rights from them. So, just like example na ko kaganina sa right ethics, katong padyutihon nimo ang imong trabahante 24/7 para mahuman lang nimo imong project in such time na ginahatag na sa construction, which is tama pa ba niya akong ginabuhat nga patrabahoon ako mga trabahante 24/7. So diha na mosulod ang moral values. So mo na siya ang duty ethics. The third ethical theory is utilitarianism. So, utilitarianism, rights ethics, and duty ethics agree that some types of actions, for example, being fair and truthful, are obligatory for reasons independent of the consequences. So, as we remember, do you still remember our lessons from first year psychology or social studies? So, as we all know that this utilitarianism theory, it states that it holds the most ethical choice for the benefit of the greatest number of people. So ginatimbang niya the most kung asa ang mas daghan happy sa imong choice. So mo na siya ang utilitarianism. Okay, let us state an example of utilitarianism for us to understand more about this theory. So, utilitarianism is 'di ba nagapabor siya sa the best or the most number of happiness in a decision. So as we all know, nakita man nato diri ang first picture kani is dala na naguba, tapos ang kani tulay na naguba. So when you are working as a civil engineer in a government na siguro or ana, so engineer na maingon imuhang kuan na atay isa lang jud ka budget kay mora jud ni atong budget, so isa lang jud dapat sa tuang unahon ug kanang hatagan ug um, repair kaning dalan or kani. So as an engineer, so in utilitarianism theory, timbangon nimo kung asa diri ang kinsa mas daghan na lipay. So this is idalan, a road which is a national highway, agianan sa tanan transaksyon, matug school, matug work, ano pa, kanang mga tracking, mga common goods para sa dito padulong sa asa papadulong ito na location. And this one in this picture, which is kanin lang sila na pamilya magpamilya ni sila na namuyo diri dapita, which is sila lang ang namuyo dito, tapos kailangan lang jud sila na buhatan daw og tulay para makaagi sila og tarong. So it's really hard for us to to decide what is the best or what is kung pwede good duha na to sila ang buhatan og project. So pero sa utilitarianism, you have to choose kung kinsay mas haghan malipay. So diri sa national road, so syempre mas daghan malipay diri kay daghan man gud sila mukaagi diri. Unlike diri pwede man nila mag-relocate na lang ni sila na family. So there is another way of solving this problem. So in utilitarianism, so moro to ang iyahang best way of kana explaining this kind of theory. So you have to decide what's the best for the maximum happiness of the greatest people na happy sa imong decision. So that is the utilitarianism. So the fourth ethical theory is the virtue ethics. So virtues are desirable habits or tendencies in action, commitment, motive, attitude, emotion, ways of reasoning, and ways of relating to others. So as we all know, kung sa vice ganda pa is virtud. So if you are a virtuous person, you are a good example of a good citizen, a good person. So being a virtuous person, you have a quality to do the right thing. You have this prudence, state of being wise, to know what is right and wrong, the good or the evil. So if you focus of being a good engineer, and the right actions will follow effortlessly. So all actions have consequences. If you do good, so the results will be good too, and if you do bad, it likewise the same, it's bad. So you have to be a virtuous person for you to become um, a good engineer. Let us state an example of virtue ethics. So for example, you are working in a local government, for example DPWH. You are a civil engineer. So gusto nimo i-propose na ning ani na building. So you're proposing kanang class A. Kanang class A ang imuhang mga materials you're gonna use for the construction. So syempre class A is mahal-mahal. If if katong dili na class A, mas barato-barato pa siya. So syempre tawag ng na kuanan ka na ay mag standard na lang akong paliton kay ako na lang ning kuan 1.5 million palit na lang nako ni Shag Navarra. So ang naitabo during the construction, so ang gigamit nimo is a substandard material, so which is dili na mao sa imong estimate. So ang naitabuan na nalinog, gamay linog, nahugno dayon ang building. So if you are a virtuous person, kung naa kay virtue ethics, kanang naa kay virtue ethics, you don't need to think twice. You think first the safety of the people around your structure. So dapat jud the heart and soul of engineering is the safety of the people. So dapat maging prudent enough to be an engineer, to decide what is good and bad for it, because every action naayod tay consequences. So if you live a virtuous life, so you live a happy life. So that is the example of virtue ethics. Lastly is self-realization ethics. So self-realization ethics, however, gives greater prominence to self-interest and to personal commitments that individuals develop in pursuing self-fulfillment. The theory of self-realization is that a life of excellence is based on the actualization of human potentialities. In psychology, this is called self-development. If you have self-realization here, you have self-acceptance, self-empowerment, self-worth, self-reliance, self-healing. Aside from moral values, we have ethical egoism. The theory is ethical in that is a theory about morality, and it is egoistic because it says the sole duty of each of us is to maximize our well-being. So in egoism, acting to serve yourself in an ethical way that claims that it always be right to do what will benefit you the most. It allows you to do actions that help others as long as they promote our self-interest. Thank you guys for listening my report, and I hope you learned a lot from my report. So thank you guys. Stay safe.